We're going to start the second of the session, of second paper in the session. Obviously, we talked about a lot about CBA and about the good stuff of CBA, and we're all converts to thinking that that's at least the way to start. The question is when CBA gets abused and used in or misused in various ways, how does that work? And so this is a session really that I think is going to cover some of that. What happens when you start playing around with what you include, what you don't include, especially the stuff that's difficult to quantify, which we all know is out there. So who's going to present this? You're going to start on this one? Okay, well, then I'll turn over to Rob and then also to Eamon immediately afterwards, and we'll run it the same way. We're finishing up at 3 o'clock, which is when we have tea outside.
Right, okay. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations. We're more than halfway through. Keep it up. You're doing well. Now, this presentation was actually part of something I tried to do before with Eamon. The idea was I would come up with a premise to sort of burly the water or stoke the fire, and then Eamon will take it and run with it in an AI context. So this is the idea. So if you stick with me, we'll see if the tech works. Yeah, another slide. So, okay, we're talking multi-criteria analysis here, not cost-benefit analysis, even though the two are somewhat distant cousins with a bit of intermarrying. Who knows what MCA is or multi-criteria decision analysis? Hands up, please. We're doing Hando, not Slido. Anyone not know? Anybody at all not know? I can get rid of a whole lot of slides. Okay, but very quickly. Oh, who's seen one in the wild? Who's actually seen a multi-criteria analysis? No? Oh, some people, a bit of, the slides are coming back now. Who's participated, actually been involved in an MCA? Oh, we've got 1, 2. Higher, please. Stretch, you go. Quite a lot. This is really impressive. I very impressed. I expect great questions. Okay, who has actually done or used an MCA for a project? So you might have been asked, oh, look, we've got a room full of MCA converts. Fabulous. Okay, definition, all I'd say is, for me, MCA is choosing amongst options by scoring them against criteria, weighting the criteria, comparing the results. Very simple. There are New South Wales guidelines for CBA talk about MCA, saying not preferred, but still you can use it. The IA guidelines, fabulous. They're the best source in New South Wales for talking about MCA. It's great for stakeholder engagement, getting people involved. There is a journal of MCA and a large, rigorous intellectual literature around that. It's a subset of organisations' research. There's software. It can be done in spreadsheets. And going back in 2014, I can't remember. I think Leo Dobes presented this at one of the early versions of this conference. He did a paper called Good Enough for Government Work, saying that basically AI was rubbish, or that really it wasn't good. The gold standard was cost-benefit analysis, and we really shouldn't do it. Very much on the extreme version of that. I'm going to do a very quickly thing, and I can thank David Matchett for this if he's in the room, who said when he teaches this, he uses toaster examples. So if people aren't familiar with it, this is actually the UK manual on multi-criteria analysis. First came out in 2000, they've updated. You've got some different toasters, you've got some different things you want out of your toaster, like adjustable slot. You give it a rating, you turn the handle, give it some weights, and out comes a toaster. Now this is actually not a toaster. This is a piece of kitchen art, which my wife was involved in getting me to buy, albeit if you get ticket shock when you see the next slide, they can be bought much cheaper at Christmas in the sales. But this is another version, much more sophisticated version of that same thing from Choice. And you get the price of the different toasters across the top, and then you weight them and you give them yes or no criteria, and then it goes through and does some scoring. So anyone who hasn't seen an actual MCA can realise it's just like Choice's Toaster Rack. I would note here, however, this is the $7.50 toaster. This one, which looks very familiar, is $270 here. And the difference in how they were scored was bugger all. So depending on how pretty you want the thing that makes your toast, there's quite a big difference there between the scoring and the copy. That was a sort of rather abstract one. This is a thing, Transport Ausroads have done a guide to decarbonisation decision multi-criterion. Very deep, very nice, good thing for what it's doing, but showing that's still happening. I mentioned Infrastructure Australia's guide. That's there. It comes out with this example of what it was going to look like to do MCA. And at this point, we get to the bit where, I'll say, they also are very clear, you design your MCA, then you apply it. You don't try and mix up. But I'll just pretend I didn't hear that for the the purpose of our example when we do the next bit. Okay, and they rate them and they give nice colors and you score them and you can, do the weights, do the scores, you get the results, all good stuff. That's an example of what it looks like. And what we didn't get the last one. This is where we're going to. I was trying to get another. So this is where I'm going to play. This is what's going to happen here. This is where we're going to get to. Don't worry about this. In another slide, it looked more like the beautiful, pretty version.
Sorry, I didn't put your beautiful one in. Yeah.
Well, it looked very much more like the one from infrastructure straight. So what it is, basically, we're going to play with the spreadsheet. What we're going to do, a lot of spreadsheet. One thing I would tell people, don't put spreadsheets up in your slides because it looks boring. What I want to do is take you on a whiz-bang journey. What I've done here, I've gone some criteria. All the scores are the same. I've got some options. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's how I've started off with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and tweak and take this one, number 4, and make it the best. So I'm going to whiz through this, try, and this is to give Eamon something to play with. So first thing we do, and 5 is sort of an all right number for criteria, and 5 is sort of an all right number for options. So we're sort of in Goldilocks territory here. So, and people like, first time I talk about MCA, they go, you play with the weightings, that's how you rig it. We're keeping the weightings the same. So the first I did, just to make it possible, we couldn't do anything with that before, there's what they call strict dominance. So if you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no matter what you do with the weightings, no matter how you play it, option 1 is always going to be better than option 5. So all I did was flip the numbers on one of these to get a bit of variety in there. When you do that, you'll find something interesting because number 2 then is always going to be better than number 4 because the number's higher. And what else? Number 1 is always going to be better than number 5. So you do have this strict dominance. It's if you're into that sort of operations research sort of field work. Then we started playing with. First of all, I went, okay, why don't I do something which is quite reasonable? And I'll just say, hold on, this criteria here, I've decided that that is now a minimum criteria or it's outside. I've decided that's the safety criteria. I've decided that surprisingly option 1, when you look at it, is 0.1 over the safety criteria limit, whereas, sorry, option 1 is right on it. That's now unacceptable. That's an unacceptable safety. We've decided, so we can actually, as you might do when you're doing things, take that one out. So we've lost that one. We've readjusted the weightings, and from being, where were we? We go back. From being, 60%. 60% at the gap, if we just drop one of those things because we made it a mandatory criteria, we can take that gap down to 30%. Also, our option 1, which was our best, no longer counts because it's now not in our minimum criteria, so we've lost it. Then what we're going to do is, so we drop that criteria. Now I'm going to create a lipstick option, like I'd like to say. So if you've got the what you want to do in blue, you decide to put it into fuchsia and make a slightly different option and change it and give it a slightly different score. So we get another option up. But in reality, if you're trying to push this option, I don't really care which one of those it is. I've created just a minor variation. Keep with me. We're going to go through this quickly, then Eamon's going to have fun. So playing around with the numbers. The next thing we can do, because we got it, sorry, where did we get to? We're 29% away. We're trying to get closer. So the next thing we can do, criteria. Now, criteria are a very flexible thing. What I can do is I can split some of these criteria. So take one and turn it from one thing into 2. This might be environment, and I turn it into sort of natural environment and greenhouse or something. I can split criteria. I've still got equal weights, but what I've done is I've actually put more weight in that one, sort of without you ever, if you blinked, you wouldn't have seen it. So anyway, we do that. We keep the original scores the same. We slightly tweak the new ones. So we're not going too far away. We're having fun. And where have we got to? 5%. We're almost there. We're getting there. We've done a couple of little tweaks and we're getting there. Next one I do, what did I want to do next? Squeeze. So the other thing is these scores are somewhat arbitrary. They're 1 to 5 or something. So where you start, where you don't is sort of arbitrary. If I've got one of them, and what I do is rather than going from 4 to 1, I go from 3.5 to 1.5. It's not a big difference. If you're in a committee and we were talking this, I could probably get that past you. I don't know. So that squeezes in those. And now we've got to 0. We've now got our option as good as the preferred one we started with. And now wait for it, one more little tweak. We squeeze again. take another of the criteria, move those things together, and we've achieved what I was after. We've managed to get the preferred option, the one we like to be the preferred option. So this is just going back to Dobes about what you can sort of do with MCAs because they're so malleable, if you like. And finally, what did I do here? Oh, we had another go. We're actually sort of tilted. The other thing I didn't do this is you can tilt the scoring. So if you've got a whole lot of scores that are here, you can move them all up a little bit, and that will have even more effect, take you to 10%. Don't really need to do that. We've achieved our aim. So now I have a scenario, and this is what I gave Eamon to play with. That's our final spreadsheet that we ended up, not spreadsheet result for an MCA we're going to play with. The Minister for Transport, Environment, Tourism and Parks was sent by his college on a 12-week goodwill tour, education, fact-finding of Europe and Asia. The highlight was when he did a honey cart tour of the wine regions of a place called Grand Fenwick. He loved it. He was the judge at the local wine festival and he got to do the beauty contest. So he was very happy. Sydney needs something like this. So this is going to be what our MCA is on. Given budget constraints, of course, naturally you give that to the Department of Transport. They've got the money. And someone's asked for an MCA. So, so what we end up, let me make sure I've got the right thing. So yes, that's it now with these different options, you know, Brumby carts, which would be the minister's option, horse carts, rickshaws. We've made a spurious version, and we've now put OPEX, CAPEX, and other things there. I've reordered that so they look more like you would get. So OPEX and CAPEX are together. You've got parks, environments, tourism, heritage. Brumby carts is your winner. We're going to be suggesting that's the one. I think we did, and this is something that Eamon didn't put up, but and we can talk about this later. We've got two things in here that are actually, oh, sorry. The other thing is some of those scores are the same. So if I've got a 3 for parks, a 3 for environment, basically I'm saying whatever that is, they have the same impact. If I've got a 3.5, a 3.5 here, and a 3.5 here, I'm saying that whatever I choose to have as CAPEX, which is in dollars, has a similar impact to parks over here. So one of the things I think is a problem when you mix dollar amounts into a MCA, you find that you can actually manipulate it. And as I've done here, you can actually back solve prices or values for everything. You've got some assumptions to make about how you treat things. But in effect, if you're putting dollar values in, you can actually work the whole thing and back solve it back out to be a cost benefit analysis. So, you know, there's lots of things you can play with when you're doing a MCA. What I'm going to do is now, having created that out of thin air, I've now handed that over to Eamon to sort of put his magic AI wand over it. So, hand you over.
Thank you. So I have some handouts to start off with. Okay, I printed out about 30, but that means you're going to have to share if you want. And I put some marketing material on there because you can't get away from that. So what Robert did was basically run through how MCA, you know, you can tinker with it a little bit to get the desired result. I think if you've done an MCA in the wild, you know that even if you're doing it with the best of intentions, it is essentially a meeting where you get together and talk with people about what you think of the options to try and choose the best one. And in doing that, you'll be tempted to do some of the stuff that Robert did, even if you plan on doing it. If it happens in the meetings, if you've been in one of them, and you're tinkering with change, and something will pop up as the one that you want. So what I thought I wanted to do in this first handout, oh, hello, you got one yourself. In the first handout is just give a little bit of guidance on some options. You like one? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you can have another one. I've got extras. I was stingy on the way up. Because I think, like, as economists, I think we would think that we're pretty good at spotting a bad CBA. We can see things where there's problems. Would you want one? Sure. Getting close to handing them all out. We can see ones where there's problems. And we can see what to do. You want one, Robert? I'll keep one as well. And we can see what to do when there are problems, but we treat MCA as a little bit secondary to CBA, and we probably aren't as like skilled up on picking out problems in MCA. It's a little bit because they're easier to hide in MCA. And so I did just want to give this little handout as a thing to take home. If there's not enough for everybody, I'm sure we'll put it up on the website.
Yeah.
A thing to take home to try and give you a little toolkit to check MCAs, and we'll use this run through the AI and see how it does it, how it does with it. But basically, going through Robert's issues, you did all of them. You did criteria matching, you did missing options, you did elimination, you did double dipping, basically, and you did score stretching. So in the handout, you'll see there's a quick run through to say, okay, what are you looking for in each of these? What are some telltale signs? And what can you do about it to address it? Also, there's some suggestions there around what some strategies might be. So I guess for CBA, I feel like you kind of know when you go back to somebody what you ask for, like change this, do that, show me some sensitivity analyses, change the discount rate, all that sort of thing. The equivalent for an MCA is a little bit different, and I've tried to put it there. I guess sensitivity analysis, the one I'd call out, there's a few there, but the one I call out would be sensitivity analysis. So in CBA, we're very, very used to doing sensitivity analysis. Mostly you have a chapter at the end that says, here's a bunch of sensitivity analysis, let's see what happens. In MCA, I don't think you see that so much. And it's a tool that works just as well for MCA as it does for CBA. You can change the inputs, you can change the weightings and see how resilient the selected option is to that. So I would say one of the biggest tools you could ask for if you see an MCA and you aren't so sure about it is like, go back and do some more sensitivity analysis and show me how how the preferred option changes under these different sensitivities. But yeah, basically just a little handout to try and give you something to take home to address the problems that Robert identified. And because we're in an AI session, we wanted to have a go at seeing if we could make it go live and have a go at applying and fixing Robert's CBA and see what we MCA and see what it does. Both as a demonstration of just like capabilities of AI and where it's at, and as a demonstration of some of the improvements that we could make. So I will see if I am capable enough to get this working. I have a backup, but so starting off, so I am going to use Claude as that's my preferred AI. And I'm going to just start off and say that my colleague Robert has done a MCA. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm sharing the wrong thing on the screen. Good work, good pickup. I thought I was sharing my screen, not my window. There you go. That should be better. All right. So in Claude, I've got my first prompt. Colleague Robert has put together an MCA, asking it just to have a look and hold off on any commentary. It loves to chat, so it's always good to tell it to be quiet. The thing I'm going to give it is a minimal version of Robert's work. So I'm not going to show it all the tricks that Robert used, but I've got the scenario in there and the final weighting. So just the 2 slides in PowerPoint, just drop that, then PDFs are out, PDF that, drop it straight in, and we'll see what it does. And then I'm going to give it basically the information that's in this handout. I have some notes that I made about my own handout, which is this MCA forensics one, but it's checking out my PDF at the moment. Now, the next pre-prepared prompt that I had was, I watched this presentation by me, my own presentation. That say sometimes when I've done this, it picks up just from those 2 slides. No, sometimes it picks up that it's a joke. It didn't get it that time. but it does occasionally say, wait a minute, grumpy cards. So I'm going to put my handout notes in and say, watch the presentation from this guy, how to assess MCAs. Here's the outline, have a look, don't do any action just yet. So that's where we're heading. It's going to read through and it can't resist doing some action, make a bet. Oh no, it didn't go too far. Okay, good. And now I'm going to say, can you apply the tools from the handbook that I gave you and give me a solid outline of how Robert's MCA performed, and then apply the lessons to correct the MCA, turn it into something defensible. So let's have a look at how it does, and we can compare it to another chat where I did this previously. And if it doesn't perform, we'll see. But basically, hopefully it will go through and do an assessment of Robert's MCA against these 5 criteria. So the 5 criteria, again, are going to be criteria alignment. Do the criteria appear tailored to one option? You know, does it line up? Robert had on there, I think you had what, environment and
Parks
and environment on there. Yeah. Are there any missing alternatives? So Robert had some funny selection of alternatives in there. You had rickshaws, but you didn't have bus or anything like that. The third one, threshold manipulation. Were there any minimums or were some options eliminated? Double counting. Do sub-criteria actually measure the same thing? And scale manipulation. Are some of the scores pressed in and some pulled out? So how does it think Robert did? Criteria matching guilty. 4 of the 6 criteria match the portfolio. Missing options, guilty. There's no status quo in there. There's no consideration of public transport, electric vehicles, cycling, walking, all of those things that we think we would be in there.
I'll come around closer so you can see how victimized I feel.
Elimination, likely guilty. I think this is probably because it didn't actually get to see all the manipulations you were doing.
Wasn't supposed to.
No, yeah. So it hints at pre-screening, but there's no documentation of elimination. Hierarchy hacking, guilty. I had some more notes in my notes. So tourism and heritage overlap with each other. Score stretching, guilty. There's compressed scoring, which produces the final result. So it picked up on all the things, like using the guide, picked up on all the issues that Robert had kind of played with his MCA, which is really great to see. Now it's pumped through A.
Okay, can we stop for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, so did everyone get what happened? You saw me being a bit manipulative. AI didn't see that, didn't see it at all. But
With a little bit of help.
With a little bit of help, I am now going to MCA jail. So, but personally, I find that a bit. Well, I find it interesting. We'll wait to hear from you what you think about it. So, thanks.
So it's written us a whole report already because it loves generating content. But what did it actually do? If you're unaware of how Claude works, on the right-hand side, it'll pump out what it calls artifacts, which are like longer reports, and on the left-hand side, it'll give commentary. So on the left-hand side, so it fixed up Robert's stuff. It eliminated and changed the criteria. It added some missing options. It didn't screen anything out. It removed criteria that double counted with each other, and it gave a more objective, transparent scoring to things. So what has it ended up with? So the criteria it's given is service delivery, financial cost, which you would probably still have an issue with,
Yep.
Public value and environmental impact. So say on that environmental impact one, it's collapsed down your 2 environment ones into one category, basically. It's varied the weighting, whereas Robert had equal weights. And then you can see here, it's got some options. Electric fleet, something you didn't have there. Premium public, not sure what it's actually talking about there, but yeah. But it's come up with new options. And its most preferred option is premium public. So what is it talking about?
That was a tram.
Premium public transport. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is like a bus service, I think.
Luxury bus.
A luxury bus. There you go. If we compare it to the other one, this is one that I ran yesterday to make sure that this all worked. It found him equally as guilty. This one.
Keep running it till I'm innocent.
This one actually gave Very similar. A hybrid fleet. So hybrid vehicles is its preferred one. So kind of similar idea, like a lower cost public transport option is kind of where it headed.
So the other one for a luxury.
This one's gone. Yeah, this one's got for like luxury public transport. So yeah, it's a statistical model. It did sensitivity analysis. Like in here, I talk about do some sensitivity analysis. So it's done it. And provided recommendations and all sorts of stuff, right? Limitations as well. Well done. So what's it said it's done? So horse carriages is now back to last, so back where you started, applying the tools. Premium public transport and a hybrid approach is the preferred. Electric vehicles score well, and the status quo performs adequately. So we're doing okay right now, but we can do better. So it recommends we switch to this hybrid approach overall. So I guess the point here is that you can use AI if you want, but hopefully using this, you can have a look at some MCAs that come before you, maybe go back with some questions, get the practitioners to tidy them up, and hopefully they'd come back with something, a little bit revised. But from here, I just want it to be a little bit fun because I don't know how much people have mucked around with some of the capabilities of AI. But here, I'm just going to ask, can you turn the beta version into an interactive live tool that I can play with? And we will see how it does. So yeah, in this part, I didn't really want to say, lots of detailed analysis, but I just want to give you an idea of some of the more out there things you might put into your own workflow. Like we could do this in Excel pretty easily. I've got fewer of these actually. I've only got 15. So I'm going to hand them out.
Yeah, just one per row or something.
Yeah, one per row. There we go. Some of the more out there things that you could think about your workflow. I think one of the big things with AI, I do a lot of stuff in programming in R, and it's genuinely made me think about how I change the workflow of what I do. For instance, it's very good at plain text. And so most of my programs now have a plain text output so that I can stick that output into AI. Whereas a year ago, I would have outputted stuff just in Excel or CSV. So if you think about the workflow, like this is still going. Oh, there, got it. Perfect timing.
Before I do this, please think back, if you were to on the other slide, of the textbook where you had to, they gave you the Fortran code to be your own version of a regression. We've moved on a bit. So
yes, yeah. So this is just like straight out of the box. I didn't really ask it to do anything. I don't know what it will have done, but it's basically given me criteria weights that I can muck around with. And it's actually made it so that they auto sum to 100. Well done. Reset to default. And it should, I think it normally, when you ask it to do stuff like this, will give dynamic rankings here. So if I put this down to 1, yeah, there you go. You can see it hopping around. So, out of the box, it's done something pretty handy. MCA isn't super complicated, but in a meeting, you can whip one of these up in the time it took me to walk up and down the room and muck around with things. So an interesting part of the workflow there. Another that I put out is that it's pretty good at report writing. What I just handed out, which I'll caveat is totally made up, is a short report that I got it to generate in a previous session. One of the things I realized is that it obviously can't do stuff in Word, but it can output LaTeX. And you can copy LaTeX and print out a PDF in about 2 to 3 minutes. So that report that you've got there is from an earlier version of this chat, where I've gotten it to go through and generate a report and a ministerial briefing at the front. It's not great, but it's pretty good. I even mucked around while it's doing that. We can watch it do it live, but I even mucked around in this one. I was like, it was a bit ugly what you did. And so I gave it a previous report and said, can you make it look a bit more like that? And that took a little bit more back and forth thing, but it did get there in the end. It made a report that looked a lot like a New South Wales Treasury report, which is pretty impressive. And I will see, I can open it up. Overleaf. And we'll see what this report actually looks like. So Overleaf is just an online, so this is live ministerial reporting. Sometimes it might do something quite creepy. Okay, there we go. That's done. Done. Have to give it a moment to finish off, and then I'll copy it over. There we go. Copy into latex. Into latex. We'll see what this report looks like. It'll be different from the one you've got there. Hopefully it compiles. Let's see. Yeah, compile. There we go. So it's just generated this report. You know, got the ministerial briefing on the front. Looks pretty good. Looks like a report to me. Not a bad summary. And it lands on the hybrid approach as being the recommended one. So, and it does its assessment, does the sensitivity analysis, and provides a conclusion. So, you know, that's a pretty professional looking report. And I'll show you what it did for the, see, I've tried this a few times. This is the one I think where I got it to try and format it a little bit nicer. Yeah, so that looks a little bit nicer. I gave it a Treasury report and said, make it look like the Treasury report. And it got pretty close.
Is anyone from New South Wales Treasury here? Anyone? Does that look like a Treasury report? A bit?
It's not like I gave it the intergenerational report.
They change them every year. So.
Yeah. I gave it the intergenerational report and said, make it look like the intergenerational report, please. And it got the colors and like styles correct. Maybe the content's not quite there, but yeah, that's the idea. Basically, wanted to show you some workflows that you might not have thought about using AI in that way. And then wanted to give you a tool that you can use and show you how it worked a little bit live. So that was me.
I think we have a final slide, don't we?
Oh, we do have my slide deck.
Yeah, no.
And you all have to burn those fake Treasury briefings as well. Not allowed to.
I think if I understand, the hardest part of the fake Treasury brief was putting the disclaimer thing, the watermark on the front.
The watermark was, I did that manually, yeah. So that took me the most amount of time.
The hard part was putting the watermark on it. That was the hardest part of doing the report.
I think I closed the presentation. Okay, yeah, the summary. So yeah, we had our fun with AI. That chat, a version of that chat I put up as a public link, so you'll be able to go look at it. I guess one of the messages you wanted to take out of this, Robert, was that, as you can see, like MCA often is suggested as a quick and easy way to get to a rough answer. I guess you've shown that you can manipulate it relatively easily. It doesn't have the same kind of boundaries put on it that hopefully CBA puts on you around economic concepts and monetization. So it is more manipulable. It's easier. With AI, it's even easier. But I think, Robert, your main point is that AI probably makes CBA easy as well. So maybe it's not necessarily the fact that you should jump to MCA as quickly as you may have previously without those tools.
Have you got a final slide? You've got a conclusion?
Oh, this is I didn't get to the conclusion. This is my yeah.
Only because I'd like questions from, if you could all get online and get ChatGPT to ask you to give you a good question and read it back to us, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but I think our conclusions were.
Did we have the conclusion? Oh, you
on the right side there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, I think I remember. Oh, good. My eyes aren't that good. Okay. All right. Look, I'll come over here and read it because we did go through these. I can't remember whether these might have been the same ones. Look, I think we had a slightly different one. For me, the thing is, AI is very quick. It's very cheap. It comes up with a really professional result very quickly. I think you might. That's it. Obviously, it can do bad things very quickly as well as it can do good things. I think the point that Eamon made is normally the thing is you do a MCA because it's too hard to do the CBA. I think AI is reducing the gap between those two things. The other one that strikes me, and if anyone wants to go and play with it, I'm not sure I was exactly right when I tried to take an MCA and turn it into a CBA by assuming monetary values washed across the whole thing. But I think you can do that. I think it's important to keep the dollars separate from the other things in an MCA at the very least. So look, that's it. We were having a play. I was very lucky, and thank you very much for Eamon for doing all the heavy lifting, and AI for doing the lifting for him. And I think we're open for questions. Thank you. All right, please. Terrific. We've got one. Oh, and we will use the mic. I'll be mic person because it can be hard to hear people online.
I was just wondering if you'd like if you could put a CBA, can Claude accept Excel, and you could put in a CBA output against like a New South Wales government guideline for CBA and interrogate your own output in that way, I guess, because that's huge.
Yeah, so I don't know other people's experiences. It's not very, in my experience, Claude at least, which is the one I use, is not good at all at dealing with Excel files. So Excel files are like they're kind of a funny structure. Like at the end of the day, an Excel file is a zip file. That sounds weird, but that's what it is. And Claude has serious issues figuring out what's going on. If you give it a go, like stick an Excel file in it. And for me, what often happens is it'll just sit there running through like trying to read file. It generates all this like JavaScript to try and read the file, and it just doesn't get anywhere. It's much better at CSVs, but even then, it doesn't really understand time series very well. And strangely, if you take a screenshot of your spreadsheet and put that in, it's way better at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even the CBA report, if
Yeah.
it's able to be like, oh, you've used a discount rate of 7%, it should be 5%.
Robert told someone to do one of my colleagues to do that this morning. Yeah.
Well, someone asked me about that. In fact, if in the presentation before this, I took the Philip Morris website where they have a view on smoke-free, and I actually asked, I can't even remember which thing it was, could you run this past? And I said the Commonwealth, the New South Wales Treasury checklist for CBAs. It's not called that. It's called the Quality Assessment Tool. And it was called, and it went and found the guidelines, blah, blah, blah. It found the checklist and it went through and did it. Turned out it was doing that with just an overall web page, not an actual tool. If you did that, and they are rare beasts, like I said, it's hard to find good CBAs to put it in. It would do, and I haven't done it, I would think it would give you a response checklist against all the criteria, and it says partial, passed, fail, and give you a rating. So we're like I said, we're playing with this. This is early days. On another time, we might have done that properly. But I think 100%, whether the answers are great, and we don't have the opportunity to looking behind the magic firewall of Treasury to do that. But I'm pretty sure it would do a reasonable job. And also, I think you could train it with all that data and those checklists to do quite a good job. Is that your view on that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, like what you can do at the start of the chat is just like have all the guidelines in a folder. I'm doing this now. Have a folder that's got the guidelines in it, drop the relevant guideline in and say, I want to check something against this document. Tell me how I did. Yeah, it's like super easy. And
More questions? Come on.
So I'll jump in here. Fascinating present. I think I'm being picked up there. Fascinating presentation. But really, what you've said is that MCA, you can manipulate it to do whatever, to get whatever you want. That's the purpose of what you did. Aaron's presentation that we had in the session beforehand basically showed that in CBA, depending on the variety of the parameters you choose, you can get whatever result you want as well, what you include, what you don't include. So the real issue with this stuff is not whether or not you can manipulate these tools. It's whether the decision maker actually wants a genuine decision on what is the best social value. If you zoom out for a moment from this sort of very rather technical set of operational issues, the real issue that's going on is what do our decision makers actually want? Do they want evidence-based policy, or do they want policy-based evidence? And, it's really quite obvious that in many places around the world, the latter is playing very, very strongly in what's going on here. And really, these things are just going to be used for supporting whatever is ultimately the thing that the decision maker wants to do in the first place. So to say that these things can be manipulated it's actually not very helpful in some ways, because the real story is, what are we trying to achieve in a social value sense? And how do we get the decision makers to want
Okay.
to do things that we think is social value?
Okay, in which case, I think completely got that wrong. We got that wrong. We did not get it. What we were showing you was I can make something up like someone who is somewhat distorting the truth, but Eamon with AI can pick that stuff up straight away and tell you about it. So the AI there wasn't making stuff up. The AI was checking stuff, whether it was good. It was somewhat flawed, but as I said, you know, you have biases, you have prejudices. If you're aware of them, AI can help you find them.
But who cares? If the decision maker wants the original result that you produced, it doesn't matter anything if Eamon's going to come and say, you know what, the AI showed that what Rob did was a load of crap. Because the decision maker says, I don't care what it is. I know what the decision I want to do.
This is in which case, it's almost like if you said that as the premise of the question, then you don't start the question at all. So I agree that you're talking about how can I then, it's a different question. How can I get good practice accepted at higher levels of politics? I don't think that's within, it sits above what we're doing today, but I think it's possibly a little bit outside slightly outside the scope of the CBA conference. Hopefully we are got good practice. Questions?
Sorry, I was just going to add a comment to that. Like it kind of stems from the a priori information that comes from the decision maker, right? So if they've got a preconceived like thought or idea behind that, that could potentially drive what is practiced within the MCA and ultimately the CBA.
Correct.
And then as practitioners, we have a responsibility to ensure that it is evidence-based and, you know, it speaks the truth, regardless of whether it's a great result or a crap result.
Yeah, that's right. As the analyst, you're the one who ultimately takes responsibility for the analysis. Yeah, yeah. And I'd say what I was trying to get at as well was that like CBA, I think we're pretty good at picking up a dodgy CBA and understanding what tricks people use. MCA, I think, tend to write off as like, oh, it's like a qualitative thing and you just picked your answer, but it's probably, it's a tool that's being used more and it's useful, and we should have, you know, our own tools for making sure that it's done properly, basically. Yes.
So what we really need is some truth in advertising. We need good examples delivered to the public saying, these policy decisions were made because the CBA showed exactly this sort of stuff, and actually have a whole contingency of these things. And by default, anything not on that list is the decisions made where they were not supported by CBA, and then ultimately can go. So the questions up at the back. I think we can bring these.
In a question, yeah, look, I'd love to see more questions.
The questions at the back. So
I was going to say the man with the beard, but that's both of you.
White shirt?
White shirt, yeah, man in the white shirt.
And it's more just curious, I suppose, about getting the output you did get from the AI. But in the sort of prompt you gave the AI, I suppose there's somewhat of a sort of somewhat implicit that the MCA was flawed. You told it to correct the MCA and produce something defensible, and you also gave it the sort of context of the data enjoying a particular option.
Yeah,
I'm curious, did you try that all with like the more neutral sort of prompting, and what sort of output?
we didn't actually. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe so after this, like there'll be a website with sources and stuff available, right? For the day.
If you create one.
Yes. I'll make a link. I'll give the link for that chat, and I'll make a new link where I make the prompt a bit less explicit and see where it heads. Yeah.
And then Alex.
I had a similar line of questioning, which was like, have we gone any deeper? And now that we've told the AI what the criteria are, have you tried feeding back in and saying, can you create an MCA for me that passes the criteria but still is the boundary can't over the line?
Can you hide?
Yeah.
I have no doubt that it could.
Okay.
I'd say I would have saved me a lot of stuff around it.
That's it. Well, look, let's just take one more question. If there is one more quick one, Adrian.
Might not be a quick question, so my fault.
We'll make it.
I didn't realize. Going to answer it quickly.
Who's talking next? So
I am talking next, but I wanted to pick on David's point. I think the real risk here is that it creates the opportunity for policymakers to go around the practitioners, right? So I think the issue is actually more about the fact that people can do plausible CBAs or MCAs.
Yeah.
And if you want a particular answer, we're all really annoying to them because we get in the way of that, right? And I've been turning my mind to how do we make sure that we remain relevant when non-economists use these tools to do our work.
Like one of the, my very quick addition to that is one of the things that gets me, if you ask an AI to do a CBA, it will almost always put jobs and GDP in as benefits in the CBA. And it's just like flat out wrong, but it's like, that's where it goes, first of all. And that's exactly the thing that, we always get asked when we do a CBA, like, hey, can't you put jobs in there? And you go, no, let's have a half-hour discussion. But if you ask it, it'll just go for it. Yeah.
But if you tell it to use the Treasury New South Wales guidelines, it doesn't.
It might do.
The other thing is, and it's to your point and finishing, I'd love to show the very first slide. The title of this was called Bad Faith MCA. So we started with bad faith. I suppose you've already picked up. This does need good faith. It needs that, and it's sort of some filter. But we started deliberately from a point of being a bit naughty, and hopefully, and we have good. The other thing, good institutions. New South Wales Treasury, Productivity Commission, Centre for Evaluation. All those things that we have are actually something of a boardwalk against the sort of problems we might get. So.
Okay, can we just thank everyone for